I'm probably not super qualified to introduce Rand. I mean, I know a few factoids, but I love Rand. Absolutely. I've been partaking in the Sunday night Zoom study sessions with Rand and the group that Zooms from Pensacola, Florida, and around the world. And I know that because I've been part of that around the world. I've experienced Rand from Argentina and Panama and Europe, and I've lived quite a few places since I've been Zooming in. And it's the center in Pensacola is called the Integral Knowledge Study Center. And that really almost says it all. There's a real focus on deep dives into the essays on the Gita and synthesis of yoga and Sri Aurobindo's The Mother. And they come together for Darshan days. The center has, I think, beds for about 13 people. They do weekend-long workshops there. It was founded, if I recall correctly, Rand will correct anything that I got wrong that means anything. But if I recall correctly, they were founded in 1979 on a visit by none other than MP Pandit and the lovely Visanti Rao that still comes into the meetings with her glowing Zoom screen from India. And I don't know the story of how the center really got seated or why it's in Pensacola, but they also produced a newsletter called The Peacock something or other, and there's delightful readings in it. You can browse that if you Google Integral Knowledge Study Center, you'll find it, and the archives are there. And I think in 1983, 39 years ago tomorrow, Rand brought I think the first relics to come out of India were brought by Rand and now reside in the center in Pensacola. I haven't been there myself. I look forward to a visit myself. And yeah, Rand participating in Rand's groups has added a lot of richness to my life. Rand has a delight of being that really comes through. All the knowledge that he has in his head, I don't see him sharing it with any ego. I see just a delight of sharing, and that really comes through. And his love for people and his desire to have us all progress on this infinite path that we seem to have undertaken seems to be at the core of what comes through Rand. And yeah, I appreciate you, Rand. I'm happy that you've joined us, and I see other people from the center here that are just popping in for this, and that's fantastic. Welcome everybody. So Rand will go for about 40 minutes or so, plus or minus, and then we'll open it up for discussion for another 30 minutes before we take a break at 3:40 Pacific. I'll let you all do the adjustments. Welcome, Rand.
Oh, namaste. The mightiest spirit in thousands of years lived in a quiet room in Pondicherry, India. We knew him as Sri Aurobindo. His birthday occurred 150 years ago. It is already the 15th in India, after all. His birth, his abiding presence before, because really, was there ever a time when the mighty personhood, capital P, which is Sri Aurobindo, was not present in the annals of time, beyond time? Always he was here, but his birth and what he intended to do to fulfill the universal purpose and to cancel the contrarieties built into the cosmos so that we'd have something to do, is without parallel. He had a radiant collaborator, I acknowledge. Without her, how much could have been done? With them both here, a bright seed was planted, which is still growing and which grows within each of you and will grow into bright collectivities as well. Sri Aurobindo undertook a tapasya that will result in a fundamental change of consciousness in this universe. It will change not simply the consciousness, but the substance of life. It will, in time, redeem nature herself. We could spend hours. I could exhaust you with a catalog rather, of the brilliant achievements in Sri Aurobindo's life. Beyond boundaries. With his birth at the age of 7, he crosses oceans. He leaves one culture for another. And then at the age of 21, he comes back. And it's not simply that Sri Aurobindo blends together East and West or somehow synthesizes them. And yes, that's the correct use of the verb. I like to play like that. But there was a larger reality of which both East and West are expressions. With his first spiritual experiences and realizations, he sums up in his own personhood all that the ages, to borrow from him, have toiled to express. The shamanic institutions of old, for thousands of years, have taught us how to renounce life and hie away into an absolute consciousness beyond categorization, beyond the play of time and space, to recover original being. But is it Sat? Is it Asat? Sri Aurobindo had this step first. He was, in a sense, consumed by Brahmic Nirvana. A wide release resulted. He lived free of ego, and yet, within days, he continued his work to liberate India. Because even given the magnificence of that achievement, he was wedded to what we call the mundane. Buddhism, Jainism, Advaita Vedanta cry halt when that realization is achieved in which the ego is expunged, and only that remains. Sri Aurobindo never forfeited that state of consciousness, but it was subsumed in time to be part of the background of a larger spiritual achievement in which he saw the supreme divine conscious power expressed in personal terms as the cosmos, as every being that he saw. It was immanent. It was saturating all that we experience. There was nothing outside that being. All existed within it. So, in the midst of that experience, the illuminating pages of the Gita bear to him a different assessment of what is this teaching? What is this song about? But the Purushottama, the supreme person, constituting itself in every being, Sarva Bhutani, establishing itself in the core processes of the cosmos, in the personalities that govern, the gods, the goddesses, immaculately presented in the sages, dynamically present in the figures of the great kshatriyas, the warriors, who must hold the world together, for loka sangraha, the holding together of the worlds. Loka doesn't simply mean holding the peoples together. It's the entire cosmos that must cohere inside the conscious person. That is Purushottama. And what is Krishna's injunction to Arjuna? But you must live in this. You must become part of my nature, Madbhavam. And in doing that, you support the souls of all to grow, doing the work that has been assigned to you properly, according to your nature, according to your mission here on earth. So do it brightly. Do it without weight, because really it is all on me, says the Purushottama to the aspirant. And so we see this, we feel this in Sri Aurobindo as he takes step after step in working out the details of what this would mean. How would we integrate self, soul, world, all at once? How do we support society and not fall into egoism? How do we live well? There's a great passage in Savitri where Sri Aurobindo writes, I saw the omnipotence flaming pioneers. You all know that. It's on page 343. There's a deep truth in that. And you'll forgive me if I'm like a broken record and come back to this fundamental recognition that you are sparks, bright, bright, beautiful sparks. a spark burst of souls, like the Mundaka Upanishad says, like millions of sparks thrown out of a central fire. But that doesn't show in that image the active part of it. You are also willing accomplices. You are part of a deep and vast conspiracy. Conspire means to breathe together. We have above, in worlds beyond these that we know, beyond this triple universe of matter, life, and mind, we have above wondered at this possibility. Can we join this universal effort and forget who we are, contradict absolutely what we are in our essence, lose our light, go into darkness, lose our unity, experience fragmentation, disintegration? Can we lose our joy, our bliss, and enter into insentience? And nevertheless, be impelled to move forward and recover all that we are, one step after the other, until we resume our high status, but without leaving this status. Can we do both? We have to be willing to transcend, to step beyond known boundaries, to exceed, to go from east to west, from west back to east, to go from Brahman to Shakti and beyond to that Satchit Ananda Rupini, who is all. She is all of this at once and holds within herself as a stable ground from which to draw the resources of conscious being as Brahman. She is Brahma Shakti. This is an experience which we cannot simply remember. In a deep spiritual session, you will climb to that height and remember who you are. But usually, before climbing to that height, you will have gone inside and found this spark burst of soul within you. And you will be bringing that into your thoughts, bringing light, driving away confusion, uplifting the life energies in you, gladdening them, smoothing out their uneven flowings. And you will make plastic, and you will make vibrant this physical being itself, the Deha. All of these are your particular vehicle. It has been shaped not simply by universal nature, but by you. You've chosen this. You've chosen these circumstances. You've permitted yourself to be defined like this. And there is a watchful universal consciousness helping shape and guide every step that you take. Nothing is an accident. So what this vehicle is like your personal ashram. The site of your own soul's growth as you discover your interior reaches and push felicity into what seems to be these outer members. They are your contacts with the world to establish meaningful, measures of association moving towards mutuality and arriving at unity. Those are graded steps, but the soul and the spirit know immediately that all is one. You don't have to look for the source of happiness outside. It is already there in you. You started with it, and whatever disaster befalls you, however you may be defeated by the unpleasant circumstances of life, no, you will be fine. Now, the larger question is, how can you share the richness of this developing existence in larger ways? You know where I'm going to with this. How can we work together? Look at the earth. Look at it right now. This is the very symbol of the cosmic contradictions with which we started. Entropy and the rest. However you want to paint that picture, I'm satisfied. The question is, how do we fix it? We have had involved in the integral yoga scores and scores of group efforts to establish small communities, large communities, where we could live and work together. And every seeming failure was an important step forward. There were no final losses. Every effort prepares the next. If I have anything of utility to say to you, it is simply this. The most conscious people on the globe are the people who will offer to the earth as a whole a solution to the dilemmas we face: political, environmental, cultural, religious. Our efforts cannot ignore the most important. The most important thing is to practice this tapasya, this strong inner search for the truth of your being, and to live from that. Live more and more in the soul and less in the ego. And then the action that you take will have more significance. Otherwise, it sounds like policy. We make a new policy, we apply the policy, we get a certain disappointing result. Fulfillment never reaches the grandeur of the ideal. But sometimes we aim for something we can't quite attain. The golden age in the ashram, people like to say, was in the late 1920s. When it was small, there is a utility in being small. There is a utility, a nimbleness about a small community, especially if the people in it live consciously in their inner being. If one has realization, like Sri Aurobindo, like the mother, then it is a magnet, but not merely a magnet. People cross boundaries again. They jettison old religious ideas. They leave their country and come to a new country. What they're seeking is the presence and the power of the soul. So if we do our sadhana, and what does sadhana mean? It means a straight path, sad, to go straight to your goal. It's not a religious thing. You don't say, I will not eat meat, I will not do this. This is all about your inner life. What are you doing inside? So if this power that compels us to seek arrives at the frontiers of the soul, that elusive, evasive soul that doesn't like to be described or defined or clutched upon, but if we learn how to dance with that, we learn how to release into the beauty, the charm, the felicity of the soul, and it places its hand of benediction upon these parts of our being, which need to open, and we affect that change. Similarly, with the conscious center of a group, there is a power in which the shared richness of that sadhana is palpable. You feel it. Let's go back to the example of the Sri Aurobindo ashram. Even after mother's passing, here and there in the ashram confines, confines? It roams all over the city, doesn't it? There were corners where delight dwelt, where luminosity reigned. Even if the larger community was stressed, there was peace. Sri Aurobindo's mighty example established the ground which drew all there. Because he was in Pondicherry, the mother came. Because they were there together, first dozens and then hundreds and then thousands came. You know from your own experience that nothing goes by the numbers. That if you are able here and now to live in a state of consciousness, which is beyond the confusions of our location in space and time. If you are able to live in a consciousness which is deeply identified with all that is moving in space and time, then you are approaching that integration which comes after the transcendence, where there is a larger concord. So in Sri Aurobindo, in the mother, and in others, that power is present. That conscious power rules. It is regnant. Where we can establish a community like that, where we have reached some measure of spiritual fulfillment. I dare not say supramental, but let us say that we live in the power of the soul and in its robust oneness with all about us, that we see nature as a part of our own wider being and not as a commodity to be divvied up and sold. If we can do that, then I think we establish islands of light, which act as exemplars, as torches lit to lead others forward. I think we ourselves can provide in our growing communities soul-seeking societies, even if they're small, where we become the very voice of natural balance, not mere ecology, not mere environmentalism, but a rounded, felt felicity and oneness with nature. When you live from the soul, there are not many desires that need to be satisfied. You need less, you want less, you take less, you give more. You're generous in spirit. You are also conservative, that why would I spend if I don't have to? Why would I jeopardize another later for what is a mere passing mood for me now? These ideas of us living together are important if they become real, if we really live from within. If we can achieve this kind of harmony, the world will feel it. But more than simply having that impact on their vitality, on their capacity to feel and respond to an aesthetic movement, because yes, the soul is beauty in motion, I think we can offer a real way forward. From the ground up, how we grow, first from within and then outside. I think our conscious community could be the key to the future. It's the yogins, the yoginis, who live most in the spirit, who live most in the power of the divine, who are willing to do the work necessary. It is work. Work done from love and in conscious oneness with the all around, with those in our quarter, and with the spirit inside. So we need to be where the energy really is. And we need to be wary of institutionalization. We need to be cognizant that when we build something and put inside all sacred objects, that we've created a museum, that this is a warehouse and we've stored things and we can go about our lives in the way that we're used to doing. Institutions are not our answers. The life of the yogin, of the tapaswan, is one of practice. You're never off duty. So I say yes to collaboration. I say yes to unity. But why don't we meet in here and start from there? There's a symbol in Hatha Yoga. It's a symbol and it's a posture. All postures require that you never leave your seat. All asanas are the expression of a single asana, where you sit in your soul. Now, can you? Sitting in your soul, put your hands together and rise in salutation towards the sky, towards the apex. Can you make Surya Namaskar? Surya, the sun, that globe of truth, about which Sri Aurobindo wrote so much as he tuned himself to the Rig Veda and discovered its secrets. We, in the practice of Hatha Yoga, can stir the power of a symbol into active expression. Because if you put your hands together and rise, you're going back to your original home. Your eyes facing up, your hands coming together, and you rise in consciousness until you've gone as far as you can. And then what do? You take that great swan dive, and you dive deep into the seas of the unconscious, the oceans dark below, and you go as far down as you can, just as you went as far up as you could. And then, as you'll remember, you stretch out in a horizontal posture, which shows that you've gone into the transcendent and crossed one boundary. You've come down and gone into the absolute pitch blackness, crossing another boundary, the boundary of matter. And now you're aligning yourself so that you become one with the whole of the universe. That's what the horizontality means. And then from that posture, like the life coming up, you rise, your neck arches upwards, your head inclines, and your eyes fix themselves. From then and there, on that, you remember what you want. And then again, you come to embrace the earth below. Raise your hands and rise towards the supreme, recognizing your home. Bringing your hands back to the center of your chest at last, saying, I salute you. Namaste. Namaste. I salute the divine in you. I salute the divine in all. Brahman above, Brahman below, Brahman around. Only Brahman, only the divine. What is the divine not? This all-inclusive, all-elusive Brahman. Reach to grasp it, you cannot. But look within, you'll find only that, ultimately. Well, dear friends, you have been very kind to listen to me prattle on when others more deserving could have told you about all the richness of Sri Aurobindo's lengthy catalog of achievements. I can only tell you that we're deeply grateful to be present with him, first inwardly. Two, in various spots of America, of Europe, of Asia, to have the seed of light, which his relics represent, in each reliquary. The impact that Sri Aurobindo made on the physical life of the earth is present. His consciousness from 1926 on was completely identified from top to toe with material reality. His realization, yes, took him outside the universe, but a greater realization made the universe firmly part of his being, all the way down, all the way down. So wherever you can find a kindred soul, wherever you can sit in the radiant power of Sri Aurobindo's relics, which were gifted first by the mother. She is the one that authorized them to go out into the world. Then you can hasten the progress of yourself. But if there is no practice inside, if you say, I have to wait for better leadership, I need a how-to manual, I can't do this on my own. Yes, you can. You got here in that great conspiracy with the divine, and she will help lead you. You will find your own truth. She means for you to find